Welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
And I'm David.
This is way shorter without the V-Fire part.
Unfortunately, V-Fire is on assignment, as they like to say in radio. On assignment this day.
Aw. Well, I hope she is back from assignment by next episode. But in the meantime, you get us, and we will do our best to compensate for our sad absence this week. If y'all at home have anything you want to submit to us, if you have any episode ideas, if you have a horror story, if you have a wholesome story you want to send our way, you can do that a bunch of different ways. First of all is our email, which is cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or
you can go to our Facebook page that you can find a link to on our website, cosplaystitchandseam.com. And while you're on the Facebook page, tell us what you're working on. Join our community of fantastic cosplayers who want to see what you're doing, help you grow, help you build. And if you're not a big fan of Facebook, we totally understand. We have a Discord link on that website that I just mentioned, cosplaystitchandseam.com. Come join our fantastic community. We were talking about Pepakura the other day and its wonderful uses. It's always nice to see everyone chatting, sharing what foods they're eating, animes they're watching, anything along those lines. And while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, there are so many great ways to do it. Leave us a review on any of your podcasting apps of choice. Those are always helpful. Those help the algorithm gods shine light upon our lowly little podcast. And of course, share the podcast with a friend. And if you've got a few bucks burning your hole in your pocket, we do have a coffee, KOFI Cosplay Stitch, and patreon.com/cosplay stitch as well. I'm out of breath on this one.
I know.
For $3 a month, we will give you a shout out on the show every single month. And for $5 a month, you can join our once a month live stream called
Cosplay Chronicles.
Love that sound effect so much. It's a live D&D game every month with our friends Dustin and Jazzy, and we get to play some silly games and make silly jokes, and I hope that we get to see you there next month.
Yay! If y'all are looking for some lovely cosplay makeup or just want to try something new with your look, you can go to foxbeauty.store. I'm hoping by the time you hear this episode, they'll have their shop back up and running so you can try out some of their lovely products with their matte lip colors and their D&D themed eyeshadows. Remember, you can get 10% off your purchase with the code Stitch and Seam entered at checkout. Yeah.
Woo!
Woo! So, without our little V-Fire here, I just missed the little flame that she is burning all episode. But speaking of passionate burning flames of awesome, we have some lovely guests today, and they have an awesome cause that they want to tell us all about. So today we have Critical Care Comics, an organization from Las Vegas, I believe, with James and JC here to talk with us.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'm happy to be here.
Hello. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah,
and we are
tell us
fiery today. We're excited to be here with you guys.
Good.
No, I know. This is like, it's very relevant that we're from Vegas because it's already hot down here.
Oh, man. We're still getting snow, so send some of that this way.
We'll trade. We really need some water here. It's real bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang. Oh, man.
Heard.
Well, tell us a little bit about Critical Care Comics. We want to know who you are and help spread the word about what you guys do.
Yeah, so Critical Care Comics, it's been established for about 10 years or so. Right now, we are only in Las Vegas. We're definitely hoping to franchise in the future, but we are a registered 501c3. We basically dress up as superheroes, and we like to visit kids in hospitals, different care facilities around town, give them toys, games, comic books. The whole goal is just basically making them smile, even if for 28 pages. And we actually were founded by a childhood cancer survivor. He got diagnosed when he was a kid, and he, of course, he hated going to the doctor. He hated being in the hospital, and his mom would actually drop him off comic books when he was getting chemotherapy treatments. And it was really kind of the only thing that was able to get his mind out of what he was currently going through. And so he always wanted to give back. Once he hit remission, he wanted to basically help out other kids that were experiencing the same thing that he was experiencing. But as he got older, he was like, a lot of kids are not going to want a middle-aged man giving them comic books. In retrospect, that might be a little weird. And so he's like, you know what? Why don't I get cosplayers, people who want to dress up as the superheroes? They can be the ones giving out the comic books to kids. And so he is no longer with us. He did retire a couple of years ago, but even our president today, also a childhood cancer survivor. We've really just grown and expanded to be such a strong community partner. We do so many 5Ks here in Las Vegas. We have helped out with Make-A-Wish, granting wishes for those different kids. We have donated medical machines to different facilities around town. Really, it's just any way that we can help out kids and families, we're usually there. That's pretty much the goal that we have, just because, kids that are going through treatment, kids that are just in the hospital and they're missing school, they're missing their friends and stuff. Like, that sucks. And anything we can do to help them out, especially if they're able to get these gifts from their favorite superhero, it really just something that can help out them, their families, really just kind of make their day.
Nice.
That is so wholesome to hear.
And that wholesomeness is part of critical care's goals and mentality. Because not only do we try and help kids in hospitals, that's the direct thing we do, but we also like to foster a sense of belonging and kindness in the local nerd community here in Vegas. It means a lot to be able to go out and say, I've taken my love of something that I am so passionate about, superheroes, comics, that stuff that for such a long time was kind of considered fringe. And you can use that for good, to help kids out, to help people out. So we like to cultivate, whenever we go anywhere, the sense that the nerdy community is actually filled with really awesome, cool people. And there's lots of skills that can be shown off, whether it be from organizing an event to these awesome cosplays that people love to show off, that it's the point of it all is to bring that wholesomeness to everywhere we go.
I love that idea as well, especially like we talk about cosplay, and oftentimes it feels like there's this end goal of you're doing this for a competition or you're doing this to show off. And I love this like almost twist of altruism of just, I want to do this to help people. And I love that about this concept that you guys are telling us about.
Yeah, that's honestly something that I really love, even like seeing how cosplay is expanded, just because you take a little kid that they go to a convention, they go to a park, they go to basically any public event, and, they're not just walking around seeing people in costumes. It's almost like, kind of the Disneyland experience. Like, they actually see Batman coming into the room. They're actually seeing Spider-Man come into the room, and it's just, it's something that can really kind of almost bring cosplay to life. So it's really been rewarding just seeing how cosplay can expand in that way, because it's something you take like a hobby and you're making a difference in the community, which I think is awesome.
So speaking of that, though, to give you an example, last few weeks we had an event out here in Southern Nevada called Nevada Reading Week. It's when all the schools bring in guests to read stories to kids, usually middle schoolers and below. We had Batman go to one of the middle schools, and the gentleman who does Batman for our charity, sweetest human being in the world and an excellent cosplayer. Not only does he look the part, but he acts the part. He walked into the school. The first thing he did was overwhelm the people at the front desk. They're like, "Oh my God, it's actually Batman!" And then once he got back into the school where the kids were, the school just stopped for the day. School was done. All the kids freaked out. And apparently there's some kind, the old thing about how there's a gossip around school happens because apparently all the kids found out Batman was there at once and then just swarmed us. It was such a huge hit. Yeah. But it goes to show you the power that cosplay can bring to a community.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Let me ask real quick, did Batman read in Batman's voice?
Oh my
God.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he actually did. And it was cute because he actually had Robin with him. And so it was literally Batman getting in there and saying, "Okay, kids, we're going to talk today about colors. And it's just, you have literal Batman in the front of the classroom, reading to these group of just kindergartners that are all like, oh my God, like they don't care about the book. Like they care about Batman being in the room.
Yes.
The entire time
gosh.
Go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say when I was there, he was reading a book about I think it was like a scary purple crayon, and the whole time he took on the aspect like, I'm a detective. I have to figure out what's going on with this crayon. The kids were so engaged with that. They're like, this crayon.
Yeah, the entire time you're pitching this idea to me, I'm picturing Batman just hop on pop, hop, chop. That's
amazing.
wonderful. That's just already like so heartwarming. Was there a moment or something that you guys saw specifically about the Critical Care Comics group or an event that made you go, oh, this is where I want to be. I want to be a part of this team. I want to help broaden these horizons. Was there like a moment for you guys?
So I know that for me, it was actually because I've been in the group about 3 years, and as I've, since I've joined, I've always been Supergirl. That's mainly, she's always been like my girl, and I was able to really kind of rise up through the ranks, and I'm now leadership. I'm now board of directors. I'm part of the scholarship program, which I can talk about a little bit later. And I remember, when I first joined a few years ago, I was actually at a party at one of the bars here in town. And I was with my friend. He is our Spider-Man. He invited me for the Halloween event because I had this $20 Supergirl suit from Amazon, right? And he was like, oh yeah, you look really good in it. How about you come? You can meet all of the Critical Care Comics people. Because I've known him for a few years, and I knew that he's like our longest founding member. So I knew it meant a lot to him. So I kind of had already seen stuff from social media, and I was like, yeah, that seems cool. I just don't know if I'm the one to do this. I don't know if I can actually talk to kids, make them feel better. Like, I just don't know if I can do this. So I went to the party, and I remember being really surprised at just how genuinely nice everyone in Critical Care Comics was. Like, I was the complete stranger in the room, and everyone just kind of walked right up to me and was like, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? You look so cute. It's nice to meet you. And we just really, really hit it off regardless of who it was, whether we were talking about Star Wars or video games or comics and stuff like that. So a couple of months go by, and Michael, he said, hey, I would love for you to join Critical Care Comics if you're interested in it. And I remember being so hesitant because I'm actually a high school teacher here in Las Vegas. And so I know how to talk to kids. I don't know how to talk to little kids, though. I was always the baby of the family. I don't have kids. I'm kind of thinking like, God, what happens if kids ask me the meaning of life or something? I don't know how to answer. Like, I don't know how little kids are. Yeah. And I remember really thinking, like, I don't know if I can be good at this. And, Michael was like, I think you'd be great. Like, just think about it. And so I thought about it for a couple of weeks or so. And I said, you know what? Like, I've always been that person where I've always wanted to make a difference. Not exactly like leave a legacy. I've just always wanted to change the community. I've wanted to help people. I've always enjoyed helping people. And so I said, all right, screw it. Let me apply. Let's see what happens. And so I got interviewed. I got accepted. And I remember my first event, it was at a local trauma hospital that we have here in Las Vegas. And there, when I was thinking, when I first applied, I was like, okay, well, it's probably going to be a lot of kids going through chemotherapy. That's, of course, devastating, but I think I could handle that. Cancer runs in my family. It's sad, but I think I can do that. And there was a girl that she got into, I think she was in a car accident, and basically all her bones were broken from the neck down. She was completely strung up. Like, she couldn't move her neck. She basically could just move her eyes. And it was me, it was our Deadpool, and it was our Star-Lord. And I remember I started talking about cats of all things. And I was like, I just think cats are great. Don't you think cats are great? Because I just froze. I was like, God, this is my first hospital visit. I don't know what to say to this girl. She can't talk. Like, I don't know what to do. And our Deadpool looked at me and was like, you're Supergirl and you're a cat person? And I said, yeah, like, cats are amazing. They're so cute. They're so much better than dogs. Like, just basically me being myself. I'm like, I'm just going to talk about cats. Cats are a good safety net. And he and I start teasing each other, making fun of each other. And I looked at the girl and I was like, come on, don't you think cats are great? Like, come on, cats are way better than Deadpool is, right? Like, don't you agree? And she just cracked the smallest smile. And it felt like such a win. You know, you
Yeah.
see somebody that
Mhm.
is going through such a, such a traumatic experience, and just seeing that crack of the smile, it really made me feel like, okay, I can do this. I think I can do this. And just over the years, it really resonates with a lot of little girls seeing this strong woman be a superhero, have a cape, have all of these powers. And, it's really helped out just so many kids. And just every visit that I do, it really just kind of reminds me of why I'm here, and that's kind of something I tell all of our new volunteers is that you are making a difference. It doesn't matter how small it is, you just showing up, whether you're a hero, whether you're an agent, which is what James is in our group, you are actively making a difference. And as nervous as you might be in the beginning, the kids know that you are showing up for them. And at the end of the day, that is what they'll remember.
That's
Nice.
heartwarming.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
God.
feel so good listening to these
Yeah.
stories already.
Yeah. James, do you want to share how you got in?
Oh, how did I get in? How do I always say? Well, I always say is that I got forced in because a friend of mine runs recruitment. She's like, "Hey, you're going to join, right?" I go, "What am I joining?" She goes, "Okay, you've joined." And here I am. But no, I got involved because I knew a lot of people already in the charity. All of them were excellent. And I love the idea of going out, helping people, being part of something. It's a good feeling, like you guys say. It just makes you feel happy. So I got involved after meeting a few people, and ended up becoming what JC mentioned as an agent. See, you have heroes like what JC does, where they're the actual cosplayed, costumed heroes that go and represent the character. But then you
Mhm.
have backup, which are what agents are. We're the ones who make sure that they don't get swamped by too many people, they have enough food and drink. We're the guy in the chair, basically. So I kind of made my mark by just coming up with some new ideas here and there. I came up with the idea that we should all have uniforms, and then the charity ran with it, and they made awesome stuff. I brought umbrellas when we're out doing things in the sun here, which is it's a heaven sent item, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So that was sort of my role and my involvement with it is I'm here to make the hero shine and to keep the focus on the kids having their interaction with the heroes because all those kids want is a moment where they can have total absorption with their hero and it
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
changes the world for them. And once you see that and once you felt that, it's impossible to describe the wonder of it all. Like JC has these amazing stories, everyone does, but I just go in and I see kids who could not imagine these kind of people, heroes, taking the time out of their day to talk to them. And it just blows their mind every time. And it's the greatest thing.
Yeah, and even our
Nice.
agents, they do a heck of a lot of the work at the hospital visits as well. They're the ones, so the heroes are in the hospital rooms talking to the kids like, hey, who's your favorite superhero? Oh, I love, Wonder Woman. The agents are the ones picking out the comic books, they're picking out the toys. They're the ones that are actually giving the kids the gifts that are, just make their day. Like the agents
Mhm.
are the
Mhm.
ones that are picking out all of the presents, all of the gifts to give to the kids. And it's more so the heroes that are just kind of handing it off. And so our agents, they are just as big of a role as we are. And even as an agent, it's just so heartwarming to look at a little kid and just give them a Wonder Woman doll and just see their face light
Yeah.
up like, oh my gosh. And, really, James is the one that started this concept of why can't our agents play a role as well? And
Mhm.
so
Mm.
he suggested, okay, why don't we get uniforms? And so what our agents have started to do is they've started dressing like they're actual like agents of shield, like they're
Oh,
actual,
That's so
like they
cool.
get the headpieces or the earpieces, they get the sunglasses, they wear full suits. Like
Nice.
we have an agent, Zanji on the team. He really, really, really made it big. Like he honestly, I remember one day I showed up and he was agenting with me. He bought the earpiece. He has like a briefcase that he's going to buy. He had a full suit and tie. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, no one's messing with us. Like, you look like you could actually take someone out. And he's like, I'm an agent. Like, that's my job. And it's just it's so nice, like seeing that, and James really is the one that started it. Or, my boyfriend Leon, he's our Iron Man. And so if I agent with him, I try to dress up as like Pepper Potts. So like even as an agent, we're still this strong community. We still are all in it together. And whether you're a hero or an agent, we're all basically two halves of the same mission. And so honestly, James has been such an amazing asset to our team, just because agents, are the ones telling people who we are. If we're at a con, it's like people aren't going to look at the weirdos dressed up in like superhero suits and say, that's the one, that's the guy I'm going to ask why they're dressed up like that. They're going to go to the normal looking one in the suit. Like, hey, why are you a bunch of people walking around in capes? And so the agent work, it's so crucial to what we do for so many of those reasons, because they're truly like the backbone really of what we do. People like James, like we wouldn't have Critical Care Comics without people like James, honestly.
No, I think that's amazing.
You see here, this is why JC, with her amazing positivity, intelligence, and overall goals, is Supergirl, because she just embodies that Kryptonian mindset. Let me tell you.
I'm also clumsy too, for what it's worth. Like,
it is terrifying when you are Supergirl and you do make a clumsy move. You're like, oh no, is she going to like destroy the building? I don't know. You have to play it up.
No, I love that. It feels so much more inclusive too, because I know I've had friends who have been like hesitant to join local superhero groups because like they don't feel like they have the right body type or the right personality to play a character, and to have so many ways that you can help out that's not just being a face character is really cool.
Yeah. And and to your point, it's like I really just, when I interview people, because I actually interviewed James, funny enough, and I really just try to look for people who are so like-minded. And I think a lot of people struggle to think of ways that they can get involved in their community. And it's like, I would hate for people to feel like, oh, just because I don't cosplay or I don't have, like you mentioned, the right cosplay, that means I can't help. And so that's kind of a big goal that I try to push, is that it's like, we're all equal. If you have the right heart, you can make a difference, go out there, go do it. Like it really makes the kids' day.
So speaking of the agents and some of the like behind the scenes work, like how did that kind of like get set up? How do you guys reach out to get like presents and donations and maintain that 501c3 status?
James, if you want to answer that, you're really good at reaching out to people.
So the main way that we gather our resources and keep the organization afloat is through interpersonal relationships. Basically, we just go out to the local comic book stores, collectors, whoever, and we go, hey, this is who we are. Would you like to contribute? And people throw themselves that. You have so many great people here in Vegas who just, they're like, oh, kids want to read comic books. I have this collection that I've accumulated for years. I don't need it anymore. Let me give it out. Like people absolutely open the floodgates. It is so nice. Like you have this idea that, especially amongst comic book people, that they're the comics guy from Simpsons. Not true. They're all lovely people. And that's how we get most of the things that we donate: toys, comic books. We go and just take it from local collectors and stores. They love to give. And then what we do is we have a few warehouses here and we organize it, and we have a whole system worked out. JC, Michael, other members of the leadership help organize this, where whenever we go to a visit, we have a set schedule and we already have the stuff picked out as to give at that hospital. So if the hospital focuses on, say, very small children, we have more age appropriate books for them. If it's older kids, we have maybe teen books, things like that. So it's a very efficient system that's been fixed and created over just basic practice.
Nice.
Yeah, and it definitely took a while for us to get here. And, kind of building that community and those relationships it's really half the battle, because like James mentioned, it's, you go to a comic shop and it's like, hey, do you want to work with us? Maybe, please. And it's like, you just kind of have to get lucky. And we've been so blessed with the comic shops that we work with here in town, like Maximum Comics, Cosmic Comics, Stunt Dog Comics, just name a few. And we've been so blessed to have such a strong community. And, really what we also rely on too is just word of mouth. Like just having, friends tell people like, hey, if you're interested, try to apply. If you're interested, reach out to us. We can help you out, because it's really all about the kids. We've had people reach out to us saying, hey, my son loves The Flash. Can you please have The Flash come in and do a special visit with my son? And it's like, absolutely. And so much of it really is word of mouth. When we go to conventions, like Level Up Convention, it's just whenever I agent anyone I make eye contact with, I'm just like, hey, hi, hello, have you heard of our charity? No? Okay, let me tell you about it. It's just, you're throwing, like you're throwing all of these things at people and just hoping that something sticks. Fairly recently, actually, Leon, our Iron Man, true to Iron Man himself, he built us an actual magnetic Mjolnir, so Thor's hammer, with a full exhibit that turns on with a remote, where there's 2 magnets on it. And basically when the remote is on, it is such a strong magnetic current that you can't lift the hammer. That's on. Yeah, it's been so entertaining seeing it. And because I don't know how it works, because I don't do those things. But, watching the process of Leon making it, like to true Iron Man fashion, he set a couple of fires in the house. There was one day I checked on him and I opened the garage door and black smoke just came into the house. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, I may have started a small fire. We're fine. Like I put it out. Like just, it's like that scene in the first Iron Man where he puts 2 wires together and gets blown up across the hall. Like literally it was that exact same thing.
You guys take cosplay to like an extreme level. I love the commitment to the role.
Yeah. And honestly, because that's just what he does. He's always, made props, armor, like robotics, all that kind of stuff. And so we have this exhibit that's actually, Mjolnir, and that's been so fun to take places, because I'll usually agent it and I'll wear jeans and I'll keep the remote in my back pocket. And so you have people, I turn it on the moment they're about to yank it. So the hammer will move until they're about to lift it. And then it's like, sorry, buddy, that thing is staying stuck to the floor. And it's so fun because I'll just tell people, I'm like, ooh, sorry, you're not worthy. But hey, I hear donating to a children's charity might make you more worthy. We're raising money for a scholarship right now. How about that? And the amount of adults that will look at me and just be like, oh my God, are you serious? And I'm like, look, I'm not Thor. Like it's just word of mouth. Like, I don't know. And, they'll donate money to us and we're very grateful. We're very thankful, but we're just trying to think of fun ways because, we have the country's largest cancer scholarship. And that takes so much money that we're trying to sign up for. And so just anything that we can do to just kind of have these new things to provide such a good experience. That's really what we focus on. Even if it is me kind of, being like a car salesman with slicked back hair, like, oh, so want to donate some money today? And, if it works, it works. Like,
nice. Well, like in that vein, sorry, were you going to say something, James?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, she's not a car salesman. She's actually very genuine and good. Just want to say, if you're imagining JC over there being like, I'm going to trick these people, that is completely incorrect.
Twirling my mustache in the corner.
What's that the kids say these days? You got the Riz.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so out of tune.
So in that vein of like so much outreach and building this community, how would you suggest that some of our listeners, maybe who aren't local or maybe interested in starting their own sort of like charitable community, how should they get started? Are you guys like looking for different sponsors outside of the state? Like, what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, 100%. So we're really, really looking to franchise and find other like-minded either groups that would like to work with us in other states or people. If anyone listening to this, if you would like to take part in something like this, reach out to me. So my email is jaycie @criticalcarecomics.org. Because we really, really would love to franchise. We'd love to just spread the word, spread the message. And so what I really would advise people is, if there is a group in town that you have locally that you would love to volunteer for, that just has really good, like-minded people, really strong connections and everything, and just really does good work, reach out, ask them to volunteer. And if that's us, then I would love to hear from you. And so I would love to hear from you through email. My Instagram handle is at JAYY_double_U. I can, reach out to you through Instagram as well. The Critical Care Comics Instagram is just at Critical Care Comics, basically everywhere you can find us. That's honestly one of our main goals, is establishing other chapters around the country. And so if this seems like it's so up your alley, if this seems like you want to make a difference in the community, please, 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 please reach out. I can figure out a way to where we can meet up, whether it's a video call, whether I visit you in whatever city you're from, and we can talk about ways to establish those relationships with comic shops, those relationships with hospitals. And of course, Critical Care Comics has really built up our mission over the years, but as cosplay gets bigger and bigger, it's not so much this niche thing anymore. And, I think it's so hard for people to even say, no, I'm not interested in that. I think there's so many hospitals out there that are like, absolutely, please come help make the kids' day better. It's all just a matter of reaching out. Honestly, it's just kind of a matter of taking the plunge, ripping off the Band-Aid, whatever euphemism that you want to use. Because I know I was the exact same way. I did the same thing. I was thinking, no, I'm not meant for this. I can't do this. I can't do this. But for anyone out there where you want to make a difference in your community, even if it's through cosplay or not through cosplay, reach out, because you can. Everyone who wants to make a difference is certainly able to, even in the smallest of ways. So I would love to hear from some of the listeners, people out there, because again, it's such a rewarding experience. And if you're even thinking about it, just reach out and we would love to go from there, honestly.
Now, a lot
Nice.
of our audience is also very anime based. So do you guys have rooms for Narutos and Gokus and characters like that?
So as of right now, we primarily focus on heroes. We will have some like anti-heroes. We don't really accept any villains. With that being said, though, there's a facility here in town, Cure for the Kids, and they focus primarily on chemotherapy, children's cancer, stuff like that. And every time a child is in remission, they have what's known as no more chemo parties. And so usually they'll ask the kids, hey, what are you interested in? And if it's anime, we'll get people that will have anime-based cosplays that will show up to different events. So it's rare, but it will happen to where if you happen to have an anime-themed costume, we will get certain specific requests. Typically, though, we tend to focus more on superheroes, but don't throw away those Gokus. Like, don't throw away the costumes, because you never know, honestly. I mean, even coming up in a couple of weeks, we're talking about a No More Chemo Party that's The Office themed. And so it's just anything we can do to help out the kids, whether it's dressing up as Inosuke from Demon Slayer or a certain superhero. So yeah, we as Critical Care Comics focus on superheroes, but because, so many of the cosplayers on our team, we're multifaceted. We are into games as well, anime as well, stuff like that. There is definitely a place for that here as well. Like I said, it is rare, but it does happen. Especially there's so many kids that are weebs now, which is so awesome to see. So there's so many kids in the hospitals that even if, you're trying to stay in character as God, I don't know, let's say Supergirl, for example, I'm trying to stay in character, but I see a kid watching My Hero Academia and I'm just like, oh my God, when I first came to Earth from Krypton, that was the first show I watched. So it's like, you're still in character, but you're talking about anime with this kid. There's certain kids that love Minecraft, right? Minecraft, like all the rage recently. And so it's like, you can still talk about these interests and kind of meet the kids where they're at, but also be in character. Like Batman usually will do a joke where he's like, oh, Yeah. So, yeah, I heard about Minecraft. I think I bought that. Or like Fortnite or something like that. Like I think I bought the company. So, we find ways where you can still be in character just because there might not be kids that care about superheroes, but they do love games and anime. So we really try to also hit those interests as well.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And that's a
Awesome.
big key thing for any listeners who are thinking about getting involved with charity and combining it with nerdy interest, because the key thing with kids is that kids want you to be interested in them and the things they're interested in. And if you do that while dressed up as something really cool, well, by golly, they're going to love you. Like JC was saying, just having somebody come in who seems special doesn't even have to be a character from a show they might know. I knew a few people in charities out here over my time that what they would do is they'd bring in robots, like actual robots to hospitals or for different events. And those robots would bring people little gifts and stuff. And the kids thought that stuff was so cool. So if you are somebody who has an interest in cosplay, whether it be something that is more accessible or super specific and niche, that's all fine. The fact that you go and make an attempt to connect with a kid will absolutely blow them away. Like JC's story with her and her cat interest. That's all that matters. Those kids will pick up on that. They'll pick up on that energy and personality you're putting out. And that is the most key thing. And like JC was
Mm.
saying, if anyone out there wants advice, either to join up with us or just help with own local charities and their own community, please reach out. We'd love to give you all the advice and tools we have in our kit because we want you to succeed too. We want the greater nerdy community to prosper and more people to get into cosplay.
Nice. So that I love that. So we've talked about like how you guys got started, what got you excited about helping out, and how our listeners at home can get involved. But like kind of on the topic of like what's kept you like wanting to be a part of Critical Care Comics. Are there any like experiences that stand out to you that made you go like this? I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard to choose just one. Honestly, I think
sure.
kind of because we kind of call it like your it moment. Like you mentioned, that moment where you realize like this is why I joined, and because it can be hard. Like, and I. Every time I interview people, I feel bad because I feel like I might scare some people off. But it's hard. You deal with a lot of emotional stress, a lot of emotional trauma, having to see kids go through these horrible, horrible experiences. We're emotional support for the families, the siblings, and it can be really heavy. But, there's days where I've walked into a hospital room and the little girl that was sick, she jumped up from the bed and was like, started crying. She was like, "Oh my God, Dad, Supergirl is here. Oh my God." And just pulling on my cape. And, I always try to like curl my hair and wear big old fake eyelashes. And, just like the little girls that will just touch the eyelashes and like tug on my hair and my cape and stuff. And it just, it makes them real. And I'll tell them, like, "Hey, look up into the sky. And if you see something just like a flash of red, just for a second, that'll be me. Make sure you wave high, okay?" And they'll say, "Oh my gosh, okay." Like, I'll wave high. And so it's just kind of little things like that where, as hard as the work that we do can be at times, it's really, it's really those stories of just helping out the kids. We actually have a member on our team, Bree. She was a childhood cancer survivor, and we actually visited her while she was in the hospital. Like, Critical Care Comics visited her, and she said that ever since that day, she always said, "When I get better, I'm going to apply," because I remember what that was like for me, having these people come and visit me while I was sick, and I want to give that back to them. And she's now our Raven, and just seeing her connect with the families and the nurses because she went through it. And it's just kind of the little things like that where it's like, this is why we are here, because there's always another family that needs help. There's always a kid that needs a smile on their face. And that's really what we're here for, whether it is because there's, they love superheroes or they just got some cool new comic books to read. There's always kids that really need help. And so we're just there to continue to answer the call, honestly.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Who's cutting all these onions? Oh my
lord. James, did you have one that you wanted to add?
We have a recent one, actually, and it goes back to the Batman story we were talking about earlier. So at this middle school that we're doing the reading week at, they have what I think are like student councils that helped organize the event, and they're the ones that actually suggested having our charity come in. And these little student councils are led by middle schoolers. And my story involves one of those leaders because there was a girl who met us when we arrived at the middle school. She must have been 12, but she is the most absolute perfect person. Do you ever think back to when, man, I was such a nerd back in middle school? I was such a geek. This is the platonic form of that, like the sweetest human being. And she opened by talking to saying, she shook my hand and she said, "Oh, hi, my name is so and so, and I'm the one who organizes this event. Now, I know you haven't seen a lot of stuff, and I'm sorry for the chaos, but I'm so happy and proud that you all are here." Just the like fitting image of professionalism. And as the day went on, she would make sure we had food. She would answer any questions we had. Her and I, hit it off immediately because I treat her like an actual peer. And toward the end of it, she's watching Batman and she's starting to get this little smile on her face. And I ask, "Hey, do you like Batman?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, I really like Batman. Can I get a picture with him later?" So at the end of the day, I just escorted all the other kids away because there's crowds around this guy. I'm like, "Get out of here." And then I had her take her own picture with Batman. And the veneer of that wonderful professionalism cracked, and she just went, "Ah," just like gave Batman a big hug, and it's this giant smile. So it's that great feeling of seeing kids being able to just be themselves. That is one of my great feelings that keep me involved with this charity. It's something like that, to see a person be able to have that type of experience, because a lot of us never had that growing up. If you liked anime or comics and all of that, for us millennials, that was a little bit more difficult. Now I get to see someone happily live that kind of life, and I just want that for everyone. And she was the embodiment of that.
Yeah. And honestly, it's like there's so many days, well, not so many, I guess, but there's times where it's like we're in there talking to the kid and the kid's just not really that into superheroes. No problem. We still give him some toys and games and stuff. But the parents literally are like, "Oh my God, that is freaking Wolverine." Like, and it's like the parents that are freaking out because, so many of these parents, like they're growing up, they're like, "I've always loved comics. Oh my God, you guys look just like them. Can I get a photo?" Like, I've literally been in hospital rooms where usually it's like the teenagers, because the teenagers, they're too cool, they're usually like less interested. And I've had kids flat out ask me like, "Oh, so what do you do outside of this?" And of course, we don't really break character, so I kind of had like my little canned answer. And the mom was like, "What do you mean? She's Supergirl. She's fighting crime outside of this, and she came here to visit you. Be grateful." Like, and it's so funny because it's like the parents a lot of the times get so invested too, even if the kids don't care. It's the parents that are just like, "That is Bruce Wayne, and you will respect Bruce Wayne." Like, because it's, you have these children of the 70s and the 80s that now are having kids of their own. And it's like James mentioned, we never had that outlet. But now you have these people using this hobby to just merge like our everyday pop culture with geek culture. And that's something that's it never gets old. It never gets old seeing the parents freak out as well. Like, it's honestly just really cool to see.
That is awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on our episode today. We usually like to wrap up with like a cosplay horror story or a happy story. And it's been so fun this whole episode to like hear these wonderful stories. But is there anything in particular you want to share story-wise?
So I have, if that's okay, I have one that's like critical care related and then one that's like outside critical care related.
Perfect.
So my critical care related one, there was so my cape used to be held up by Velcro. And the Velcro was just really, really bad. And it just kind of was going through just immediately. And the cape kept falling. And so I hug a lot of kids or I'll twirl the cape and stuff like that. And the cape kept falling. And so I put magnets in it. And, well, I didn't. Leon did for me. But, I got magnets put in the cape and I was like, oh my God, this is so much better. Because there was one day I literally tied my cape around my neck because it kept falling. And I was like, this is pissing me off. I'm not going to walk through this without a cape. So I just tied it around my neck. So from the back, it looked cool. But from the front, it's like, I looked like, a Boy Scout, like with a little bandana around the neck and stuff. So I get magnets put in and, that was so much better. That was great. And we're at a 5K and it was I think if I remember correctly, it was for an organization here in town called the Candle Lighters, where they just help out families of kids who are going through cancer, or for those kids who have passed, they still support the families and the siblings for those, what's called the Candle Lighters, the candle in the window and stuff like that. And so it was like an evening 5K and all of a sudden I hug a kid. And, no, that's what I was hugging a dog. I hugged a dog and it was like a gigantic, like Alaskan 120-pound thing. I don't know. I'm a cat person. I don't know dog breeds. So it was such a big, big, big boy. And I hugged the dog and all of a sudden I get up and my cape falls. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Let me just snap the magnets back in. And the magnet's gone. And I'm like, oh my God, the freaking magnet gets lost. So I'm looking in the grass and I can't find it anywhere. And I'm literally, and all these kids are like, hi, Supergirl, can I get a photo? And I'm like, give me a minute. Supergirl's cape, it got hit with kryptonite. And I'm like, oh my God, where is this freaking magnet? And I'm looking for anything shiny in the grass. I'm telling everyone, like, give me your keys. Give me your keys. I need to like get some kind of a magnet. It's this big magnet. I couldn't find it all day. I am like running back and forth across this park. Everyone's like, just ignore it. Just wear it anyway. And I'm like, I can't wear my cape without it. That's the problem. And I think Michael, our Spider-Man, was there and he's like, yeah, but like, I thought you put magnets in it so that way the cape wouldn't fall. And I said, I did. And he goes, what happened? I'm like, I lost the magnet. He goes, why? And I'm like, I don't know. It was an accident. So I looked at the dog then and I'm like, oh my God. Aren't dogs' collars magnets? Like, oh, I bet it stuck to the dog that I held. So I had to walk back up to these owners and say, hi, Supergirl here again. Does your dog have my magnet? And they stared at me. They're like, what? I said, I know this is so weird. Can I please look at your dog for a second and see if your dog swallowed one of my magnets? And she just was like, okay, like, please don't hurt my dog. So I'm looking at the dog's collar. There's no magnet. And I'm like, God, it must be lost. I can't find it. Sure enough, later, it was Brie, our raven. I was just holding my cape in my hand because I had nothing else to do. And she looks at me and she goes, you have this dot on your back. And I said, what? The magnet somehow stuck to my back. And I still to this day have no idea how it stuck to my back. And she goes, yeah, here you go. And then just walks off. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding? Like, I ran a marathon around this park trying to find this freaking magnet just for it to be stuck to my back the whole time. I was very, very frustrated. And then, like all cosplayer struggles, there was a time that I bought a really cheap wig. A really, really cheap wig. And I'm thinking, oh, it's fine. It's good. It's totally fine. Yeah, Leon and I spent, I think, maybe 2 hours brushing that through because it's just rat's nest on top of rat's nest. I was sitting there because I had a photo shoot scheduled. I have my friend that's waiting for me, and I'm just brushing through this huge wig that's just a rat's nest up to my scalp. And I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to shave my head. I'm freaking out. And then he literally is like, calm down. Like, I'll get it. And then 30 minutes later, it looks fine. I was like, all right, thanks, bye. And then I just like waltzed away. And I was like, all right, we're good. It's fine. So that's kind of what comes to mind from my like horror stories typically.
Those were very good.
Fantastic.
James, do you have any you wanted to share?
Oh, so I have a cosplay story that I rather love, and it involves one of the elder fandoms, Star Trek.
Yeah.
So, out here in Vegas, we have a huge Star Trek convention every year. It's one of the ones, it's been going on now for, oh God, half a century. And everybody who's in the Star Trek comes out to it. You have people dressing up as every kind of alien, every kind of character. You see so many different kinds of cool cosplays. It's awesome. One of the big groups that comes out and they always gather is a huge gathering of Klingon warriors. Now, for those who don't know Star Trek, Klingons are like the big warrior race. They're rough, they're tough, they're basically space pirates. Awesome people. But these cosplayers, they bring their families with them. So not only are they dressed up like Klingons, but their kids are dressed up like Klingons. And it's adorable as well as terrifying. But they always want to involve the kids and everything. Everybody there wants to involve their kids. You want the next generation to be into the same stuff you're into.
Mm.
Well, one year I went as what's called a red shirt. It was a character from the original series, and they're renowned for getting killed just en masse, just absolutely killed off, slaughtered. But they're great. I love that role. So all the Klingons, the people dressed up as them and their families are gathering in one of the main halls to take a picture. They do big meetups for each of different groups. And I'm wandering around there when they're doing this. We're watching them. We're having a great time hanging out. But I notice off to one side that there is this little kid who must have been like 4 or 5, but he's dressed up as a Klingon, like has the head ridges, even has what's called a bat'leth, which is like this giant curved hand blade. And I see his I see his parents are getting photos with people, and I'm kind of hanging out, and I've already been talking to him. So I ask, "Hey, so is your kid going to take photos?" And they go, "Yeah, he's a little shy. We just need to find some way to get him interacted." And I go, oh, I have an idea." And I kind of whisper it to him, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I like that." And then they go over to their kid, and the little cameraman they have there taking photos of people still, and he's turning over to me, and they whisper this to their kid. And you see the kid's face light up, like his eyes are fiery. And I pull out my little phaser laser gun, aiming at the
Mhm.
kid, and the kid looks at me, pulls up his bat'leth in his air, goes, "Ah," and just like charges me and like jumps on top of me and stabs me with it. And he's like, "Oh no!" I start playing dead, like, he's got me. And the kid's like, "Ah, bah, bah," starts screaming in Klingon. The guy's taking photos, and everyone's getting into it. And then the rest of the Klingons, everyone in the crowd's like, "Yeah!" They start cheering on me getting killed because we're all mortal enemies. That's my favorite memory from Star Trek. One of them was just this little kid just utterly getting into it, just playing up the role so heavily and just killing the red shirt. And he had to end with all of them around this kid, and he's like standing on top of me as if he's killed the enemy of the Klingon Empire, and everyone's cheering him on, and he gets carried off by the crowd. It made that kid's day. One of my favorite cosplay memories was none of that.
That's
Oh my
fantastic.
gosh.
That reminds me, I was doing a pre-serum Captain America,
Ooh.
and a guy at the con I was at was in a red shirt, and he goes, "Hey, could you like stand on my back as if like even pre-serum Cap can stop a red shirt?" And that is like that. I don't have that photo. That's
Beautiful.
somewhere floating in the ether, but
Oh
man, that
no.
always makes me happy to think about.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you both. One more time, can we get the information on where our listeners can find you online?
Yeah, so we're at Critical Care Comics, basically on every social media website. Our website is criticalcarecomics.org. My email is jaycie@criticalcarecomics.org if you want to reach out to me through email. And those are probably the best ways. Reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, my email, anything like that.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
No,
if
really,
our
this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. If our listeners at home would like to reach out as well, there are a bunch of ways you can do that. The first is our email, cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or we have a website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, where you can fill out a form that's totally anonymous if you want it to be. And where else, David?
Or you can go to the Facebook page. And while you're on the Facebook page, tell us what you're working on. Join our Work in Progress Wednesdays, our Finish Fridays, our Throwback Thursdays, or just share it whenever you like. We would love to see it, love to hear what you're working on. And if you're not a big fan of Facebook, go to our Discord server. I got a ping while we were recording to ask for a music channel. So now we've got one specifically for music, and whatever you're listening to, we would love to hear it. I'm always interested in new music, so your recommendations are my favorite. And while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, leave a review, share it with a friend, and of course, we have a coffee and Patreon, and some of the amazing patrons we need to thank are Cynthia Eve Cosplay, Starfetcher, Mace, Tim Yoke, Wonderboy Cosplay, Trovcos, Lydia, Rose Does, Yggdrasil, Dr. Steggy, James Donaldson, Cynics, Hot Riku, Renamira, Gloria Shu, Sudi, and Silver Deeds.
Yay, thank you guys so much. Also, a big thanks to Macy Roberts for the use of her music as our theme song, and to David Jeffers for his amazing editing. How are your podcasts going, David?
My podcasts are going so great. The Last Voice Season 3 is in production right now, so make sure that you go and listen to The Last Voice Seasons 1 and 2 if you like audio dramas, something that's spooky with a little bit of zombie survival stuff, and you've got a lot of great episodes. Fantastic backlog. It'll keep you busy for a little while. And if you like comic books and you kind of want to get into the world of comic books after hearing all these great conversations, I do have a comic book podcast called Comic Trades Monthly, where we talk about the ins, the outs, and what does a comic book mean at the end of the day. Not just, is Spider-Man the coolest? But in fact, why is Spider-Man the coolest? And what is the moral quandaries that we can grow and learn with Peter Parker as well? So go check that out. This month's episode is going to be Superman Smashes the Klan. And it's going to be a great 1950s vibe, and I love it.
Amazing. Yay. Well, I'm so excited about today's pun. Because it just fits so well. Because JC, with your work with both charity and cats, would you say you're a feline therapist?
Oh my god, yes! I feel it. Oh my god! That made my whole week!
Yes. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!